Greetings everyone! This is a quick promo before the video begins. If you're new to the channel and you didn't know it yet, I am actually an author in addition to being a YouTuber, and I have 2 books that you can get on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1 and The Occult Mafia. The first is sort of a bizarre, absurdist kaiju anime mashup, and the other is a horror noir story with a hint of a western thrown in there. They're both set in the same universe, and at this point have received mostly positive reviews, so you might want to check them out. I've provided Amazon links for both of them down in the description. They're both available in either paperback or Amazon Kindle, and Operation Red Dragon is also available in audiobook form. So if either of these strike your fancy and you want to support a struggling artist, feel free to go down and check out either one or both of them. Alright, the shameless self-promotion is out of the way, we can get on with the video. Thank you all for your support. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and I'm back to review the latest episode of Primal. This one is technically an episode I reviewed before, but I said I would revisit it in case I had any new thoughts, and it turns out I do. So the episode is Plague of Madness, which Adult Swim aired on April 1st earlier this year as an April Fool's Day thing. The reason that episode was aired on April 1st was because of events which made the episode kind of topical, but I can't say anything more without YouTube telling me that I've been bad and getting demonetized for it. So you'll just have to look into it on your own if you somehow manage to miss those current events. But anyway, that episode already aired. I shared some of my thoughts on it, particularly in how, even as someone who doesn't like zombies, this was a really well done zombie story. You can watch the original video if you want to know more. I'll provide you with links. But I do have some new thoughts. First of all, I just want to say that like every other episode of Primal that I've watched more than once, Plague of Madness really does hold up. And it is officially on record, I think, as being the nastiest episode of the whole series, at least up to this point. It may be one of the nastiest pieces of animation ever, because the way in which they depict the zombie virus and how it affects its host, rotting the flesh off its bones, making it vomit up blood, and keeping it alive despite the fact that it should be dead, it is awful to see. Even more awful when it's combined with the sounds of the creatures that get infected, like they're in constant pain, and the music that underscores the whole thing. Ugh, if you missed it in April, you're not ready. You could not possibly have been ready for what this episode would bring you, even if you're a gore hound who loves those sort of ultra-violent horror stories. I don't think you were prepared. You couldn't possibly have been. But like I said, I don't want to repeat myself. I already reviewed this episode once. If you want to know the majority of my thoughts, those haven't changed all that much. You can go watch the original video. Instead, what I want to do is discuss something that this episode and a previous episode presented that has me reassessing what Primal is about. And it has me thinking that maybe it's a little more complex than I initially gave it credit for. And I already gave it credit for being a very complex, very different kind of show. So what could that possibly be? Well, it circles back to something that I've repeated time and time again in these videos. My assessment of Primal up to this point, and the assessment of many others, is that this is not a show which tells morality plays. This isn't about the conflict of right and wrong, good and evil. This is just a story about basic survival. If there's any law in this world, it's the law of the jungle. Kill or be killed, survival of the fittest, that sort of thing. It's not a question of whether you are doing something morally right or morally wrong. Think about it. There are lots of creatures in this world that want to kill Spear and Fang. Yet Spear and Fang also do their own fair share of killing. This isn't one of those times where the choice not to kill is what separates the good guys from the bad guys, because everyone is killing everyone else. But it's for a purpose. The law of this world seems to be that if you are killing for survival, that is okay. regardless of which side of the predator-prey food chain scale you fall on. If you're a hunter, you're killing because you need to eat, so you're justified in doing that. Sure, a spear might understand the weight that comes with killing, but he still has to kill in order to get some meat in his system. And Fang just doesn't care because she's a predator, that's in her nature. If, on the other hand, you are the hunted, you are justified in killing if it gives you a chance to escape and live another day. You shouldn't just roll over and allow something to eat you. You have the right to fight for your own survival, and if that means you have to kill the creature that wants to kill you, so be it. As long as it is part of the natural cycle and it allows you to live. In that case, it seems like killing is a necessary part of your activities. That appears to be the commonality here. And it seems like every creature in the primal world knows that. Consider the episode A Cold Death with the mammoths. The mammoths did not pursue Spear and Fang because they killed the old-timer, because the old-timer was going to die anyway. Rather, the herd's pursuit was because Spear took the old-timer's tusk, and they need that tusk in order to properly bury the old-timer. That's part of their culture. It doesn't matter to them that they killed the old-timer and ate him, and used the rest of his bones for their own purposes, and his fur and whatnot. All they need is that tusk. Otherwise, once they have the tusk, they let the pair go. The fact that there was killing involved doesn't really matter because that's the law of the land. And the mammoths do not kill Spear and Fang out of vengeance for killing the old-timer because they have no reason to. That would be senseless killing. They wouldn't eat them, they wouldn't do anything with them other than just kill them and leave them there. So there would be no point in that sort of killing. That's the thing. Senseless killing would be considered wrong. If killing for a purpose is right, if that's the law, then to break the law would be to kill without reason. So what if you encountered something in this world that did kill without reason? What if there was something that engaged in senseless violence and senseless killing that didn't serve that sort of survival purpose? You could argue that such a being would be considered evil. Thus far, I think we've encountered two examples of creatures, antagonistic creatures specifically, who might fit that bill. First up would be the Ape Man. I'm assuming you've already seen the episode. If you're watching this far, you probably know the series up to this point, so I won't recap the whole thing. But you would know that the Ape Men engage in ritualistic combat. They have this big amphitheater where crowds upon crowds of other ape men sit and watch while this one ape man priest oversees this battle royale among their strongest warriors who fight each other to the death and fight any unfortunate creature that they've captured just for the sake of fighting to the death. It's a show of strength for the masses. It's blood sport. The strongest warrior in the arena kills whoever is in the arena with him for no greater purpose other than to prove he can do it. That's not natural. That is senseless killing. It's a show of strength. It's proving that he's the top dog, but to what end? There is no end, other than to be disturbing entertainment. Spear and Fang in that episode, neither of them were bothering the ape men. The ape men went out of their way to capture them and bring them to this place just so they could be killed in a show of force. Just for entertainment. And they know what they're doing, too. They are clearly intelligent creatures. They're not doing this on instinct. They're doing this by choice. And that, anyone can tell, is wrong. It defies the laws of this world. The law of survival, the law of kill or be killed, the law that says you are allowed to kill if it means you can survive. The most practical use you can see coming out of the killing in the amphitheater is that they might repurpose some of your bones into armor and weapons for the next round of senseless killing. So that's not really enough to justify it. And the tragic irony of that episode is that Spear winds up giving in. When he first starts fighting back against the Ape Man and taking that toxic black serum into his system, it is to save Fang. But eventually, it doesn't become about saving Fang, or even saving himself. He becomes this huge, nearly unrecognizable, inhuman monster, and he starts slaughtering every ape man around him, even after they've realized that they can't win and they're running away. He chases them after they start retreating just to kill them. I don't think it's any coincidence that he's not only rendered inhuman in that scene, but he's rendered inhuman by the means in which the ape men become monstrous. Because he's giving in to that evil in that moment. And that's why the episode proves to be so disturbing. Even if it didn't get more graphic with the violence, it still would have been disturbing in that regard. And that brings us to our most recent episode, with the virus. Now you may be wondering, how can a virus be evil? It's a single-celled organism. Doesn't its spreading from host to host fit into the law of survival? Well, not exactly. It's true that the virus is a single-celled organism, probably not capable of conscious thought the way the ape men are. But here's the thing. We have established at this point, or at least I hope we have, that in the primal world, killing is justifiable if it is for survival. The virus doesn't kill its host. It keeps the host alive. And that's almost more insidious, because the virus actually gets you to a point where the host should be dead. That poor sauropod, it's the victim here. I want to make it very clear that there's a distinction to be made between the sauropod and the virus, because the sauropod didn't ask to be infected. It was just living its peaceful life in the Great Valley, but then that infected hadrosaur came along, infected it, and, well, the rest is history. And it's clearly suffering the whole time. But look at how it's suffering. Look at what the virus does to it. The flesh melts off its bones, the blood is expelled from the body, the mind is eaten away and deteriorated to the point where any sort of rational thought, whatever rational thought means to a sauropod, is gone. And what you're left with is a mindless creature that only knows it is in pain and doesn't know what to do in response to that pain. So it panics, and it winds up causing even more senseless violence around it. It tramples the nests. It slaughters the rest of the herd, probably looking to infect more of them, but it kills them before the virus can take hold. You might almost say that was a mercy, and yet none of those creatures really had to die. And meanwhile, you have the virus keeping that sauropod alive, even though it should be dead. And that's the thing. Like I said, the law is that you kill to survive. The virus is surviving, but it's not killing the host. It's got them just up to the cusp of being dead, but is going to keep that poor thing alive until it can spread to something else. That is horrifying, and that is, more to the point, unnatural. It's in direct defiance of that natural law, which, you could argue, is a different form of wrong for that world. And that is what I find so fascinating, because, like I said, I initially had Primal pegged as a show that wasn't about right and wrong. But now I'm thinking that maybe Primal is a show about right and wrong, but just not in the traditional sense. It's not a show about right and wrong from a moral standpoint, it's right and wrong from a natural standpoint. And frankly, I find that to be very impressive. I don't know how long it must have taken them to iron that out, because this sort of thing is not the kind of theme that you can just easily pound out in a first draft. At least I don't think it is. But that shows the level of care that went into every single aspect of this show. You could easily have just done this show as a 100% storyboarded thing. Just have it be all visuals and not bother with really adding any complexity to the plot. But there is complexity there when you look. And it's not what you expect it to be. But what you get, while unexpected, is not unwelcome. It really gets you thinking. It really gets you looking at things from a different angle. So yeah, the episode held up, and it actually helped me formulate a better understanding and appreciation for Primal than I had before. And the next episode looks like it's going to be very, very different. But we'll see what happens when that debuts next week. So, there you go. Those are my thoughts on the new episode, and if you have any, if you managed to catch it, you can leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe, then go down to the description to find links to follow us on DeviantArt, Patreon, and Twitter. While you're there, you'll also find the Amazon links for the original novels Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, and The Occult Mafia. 2 books I think you'll really enjoy. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.